When you ask me to
pain point.
wear something that really defines you to the nth degree, I almost had like a heart attack because I just started looking within and like thinking like, who am I? What defines me? Is it this like long marriage kimono or a swimsuit? I don't know.
Yeah. Can you pull your hat back?
Yeah.
She can take it off. Right?
Yeah, you can take it off.
I can take it off. It's quite warm. Let's do it.
Well, what do you think are some assumptions that people make about you at first glance?
I mean, they definitely think I'm quite stupid, I guess, because I look quite girly in a way, like I've got long hair, big eyes and all that sort of stuff. So they think I'm quite smiley as well. Intrinsically, through doing fashion, you learn a lot about how troubled the existence of being a woman is, There's something really dark and sinister about this constant barrage of persuading women that you are only a success if you're beautiful, glamorous, sexy, and on top of all the trends, and changing constantly. It's polluted women's minds, like from such an early age. Of course, we find it really hard to think otherwise. I mean, of course, it's so difficult to say, actually, I'm not fucking skinny. And that's okay. Like, it's so difficult for us to say that. It feels, like you have to hold up a placard and like make a stand to say that. And also, I'm not rich. That's the major thing, like, is that you're made to feel so bad that you're not rich and, or beautiful, or these things, like, or successful or famous. Like that's the worst, because what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. My dad was a very traditional businessman, and everything was about making money rather than like what you're doing. And he always told me right from when I was really young, you're only worth what someone will pay you, which is kind of disgusting thing to say. And I remember once he was standing there next to a Ferrari saying that you're nothing until you have the option to buy one of these. And I was like 14 when he said that one. So that was a major part for me, but I never believed him, to be honest. Because I always was really angry about all that. For me, it's different because maybe I wouldn't be saying that I never believed him, because I did come from a privileged background. This is easy for me to see because I've had all these things. I was born and raised in South Africa. I used to live in this like white gated community and go to my sort of predominantly white school, middle class school, while at the time, apartheid was going on. I didn't even know that was happening. That's how like oblivious I was to everything. I moved to England, started reading about fashion, seeing magazines. I was like 11 years old. I used to take in all the school uniforms at school. So people would like hand me their school uniforms under my desk with a little order form, and I would take it home and spend all night taking it all in and making it all funky with like terrible coloured threads and stuff, until all the parents complained a lot. And I just thought there was like, that's where you go into the fashion industry if you're that creative with clothes, whereas actually you don't go there, you go there to die. And I went to St. Martin's to do a BA, then I did half an MA because I got kicked off. It was kind of my own fault in a way. When you're with Louise Wilson, if she says make the collection in black, you make it in black, you don't make it in white. Otherwise you get kicked off. But if you try and compromise and do grey, then neither of you believe in it and it all turns to shit, which is what was happening to me because I refused to listen to her. But then also I refused to stick to my guns entirely. So I sort of did this weird compromise, and then the work just became really bad. As soon as I left, I was like, that's it, I'm gonna prove everyone I do my own brand. So I went straight into it. Literally within like a month of being kicked off, I was showing at my first fashion week. I remember being so thrilled when like Anna Wintour walked by and didn't look. And then I saw Louise Wilson come by and she was like, wonderful, this is great, like loved it all. And I was like, this is exactly what you told me not to do. And I was just like, oh, that's so annoying. Right. Anyway, so I carried on going for a couple of seasons, and my mum was paying my rent at the time, so I was like totally oblivious as to, you know, actually trying to get a return in it. I was just doing all this sort of creative stuff and trying to do it all as well. I would do a couture shoe collection, a ready-to-wear shoe collection, couture clothes, ready-to-wear clothes, jewelry clothes, and then artisanal jewelry as well, and then also a film every season, and put on a show and direct and edit it and write it all and do the shoot and everything. So I just sort of like did too much, spread it all too thinly. So I just kept making less and less money, putting more and more into it, just getting really exhausted. And then finally towards the end I was like, shit, I just got to make like a bunch of t-shirts basically, because I just need to sell stuff. And then I just thought, fuck it all. Like, what is the point? For example, with the economy, with the crash as well, all of a sudden buyers were king. You know, it was all about what the buyers wanted, because as a brand you had to fucking sell, otherwise you go under, like everyone at that time. So the buyer was coming into the showroom telling the designer what to do, and I saw this working for other brands. I saw it through my friends. And so the creativity was then, you know, stomped out, because they would say, listen, you need to sell, we need to sell. Also trend sort of hypnotized the buyers. They know it sold last season. They don't want to take a risk on something that may or may not sell. So they just replicate what sold last season. And that's how it's been going for the last like 10 years. It's too easy. You don't even have to go and like do this anymore in a shop. You can literally lie in your bed with one eye open and go, buy. The lines are blurred because people think what's beautiful is money now. So now we're totally fucked. I'm still finding it really hard to get to terms with, you know, this idea of like money and fame equals success. I remember going around like September and all my friends who were like doing fashion, you know, watching their shows for the first time, like all my friends who I could never be there for before. I felt so embarrassed, you know. I felt like people were looking at me like going like, why is she even here? Like, surely she should be working or something, or you know what I mean? Or like, oh, I heard her brand's like finished. 2 years before I shut it down, like I was just working so much, trying to do everything, like literally on no money, and also I'd like just gone through a breakup and all this stuff. So I was just like, I was angry and working really hard. I almost gave myself breast cancer, and I'm, you know, a young woman. Lumps in my breast that I thought were tumors, and they're still there. I can feel them, which is a nice like reminder. And I only just got cleared like a couple of months ago. Wow. But like, it's just, I remember once my intern was like, we just had this guy from, like, he ran this big PR company, but it was, I don't know, he was coming to like help in some sort of way and have a meeting. I've been trying to pin him down for this meeting for ages. And then I was standing there at the meeting with him, showing him around the studio, trying to be really nice and like positive. And my intern was like, Tessa, there is blood pouring down your arm. And I was like, fuck, like that. So I was just like, I'll be back 1 second. I went and changed my top. But I'd that morning had a double biopsy that had gone wrong and developed like this hematoma thing. Oh my God. And just, you know, just had to keep fucking going. You know what I mean? And I was like all just bleeding and bleeding and bleeding during this thing. I mean, he didn't see, but my intern was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was just, you know, it's just a really bad place to be in. I don't know, it's the era of the selfie. You know, that's what it is. Everything's about yourself in context of capitalism, which is like, as a product. Yeah. And it's like that combined creates, it's like an atom bomb of like destruction and, you know, darkness. It's so bad.
What about physical insecurities?
I was quite fat when I was younger, but I used to have like enormous breasts. Like I was quite a little chubby chub. I was also very hairy. I mean, like really hairy. I mean, you can see I've got a lot of hair, but I had full body laser, like full body.
When did you do that?
When I was like 18, but I've been waxing since I was about 9.
So that was a big insecurity.
Yeah, I guess like I wasn't that insecure. It was so ingrained in like, this is life. Like this is how you just deal with it as a woman. Like you just fix your shit up all the time. Because my mum was just like, my mum is just so beautiful. She's amazing, but has always been so critical. Never thought she was beautiful. She's always had like a suit jacket with shoulder pads, like hair done, like full makeup, like pearls, like handbag, everything. You know, she's so fabulous. But then at the same time, just so sad inside because she's never happy and nothing's ever perfect. I guess my mom was such a perfectionist that I can see how destructive it is. When I was about 16, I started stealing her, what are they called? I can't believe I've forgotten. Laxatives, yeah. And then just ruined my stomach and my colon and gave myself like IBS for about 3 years, but really badly.
When do you feel the most vulnerable?
Telling my dad how much money I've made this year. That's excruciating. You know, where you just keep thinking like, you can do better, that could have been better, you can do better, that could be better, or what you did could be better, which I think is like a bit of a sickness where you just need to like get a grip and like say sometimes things don't matter or you did your best. So, what do you believe? Love, Jesus. I mean, like, the Greeks had, 37 words for it? I mean, love is kind of everything. But I think, yeah, it starts from within, obviously, in such a cliched way. But it's true. I think if you can't learn to love yourself, you have a very tough time loving everything else.
Thank you so much. That was so incredibly amazing.
Oh, I hope it was okay, because I'm so divergent.
It was so incredibly amazing. Like, there was so much that you said that was so awesome.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
So helpful.